calling all hooligans. I'm talking about soccer buns, the road jumpers, hair raisers, bunners, playboys, mutants, and the punk bunnies. Let's get it. Flash, Lego.
Mount up, think straight, get home, be safe. My team, we don't play them Rays or we ain't. You already know we some hooligans. What am I to be but a hooligan? Catch me in the street with them hooligans. Say you down for the couch, let go. Mount up, think straight, get home, be safe. My team, we don't play them Rays or we ain't. You already know we some hooligans. What am I to be but a hooligan? Catch me in the street with them hooligans. Say you down for the couch, gotta prove it.
Good morning, good evening, good night. Welcome into the Nifty Q Show. We're interviewing founders, leaders, and builders in the Web3 and NFT space. That might be the best intro I've ever had on the show, so you guys are going to have to follow that one up. But today I'm sitting with the team from My Pet Hooligan, specifically that is Chief Creative Officer Colin Brady and Chief Operating Officer Luke Paglia. We'll be discussing the state of GameFi today, their upcoming feature releases and drops, building a world-recognized brand through storytelling, and much more. That's a lot to get through, guys. Hopefully you're up for it. I'm excited to have you here on the show. How are we doing today?
Fantastic. We are having so much fun. It's like you're catching us kind of at a snapshot of in the middle of recording stuff on stage right now. We have actors coming in. I mean, we're like literally in the middle of it right now, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, feeling pretty good, pretty fired up, and yeah, excited to dive deep with you today.
Yeah, it looks like the KARROT Gang is just joining us as well. So shout out to your community. Shout out to everyone that, of course, is coming in from our community as well, OVOT, our Vibe, our tribe. Guys, like I said, that was a fantastic start to the episode. You guys have a full day. You're on with Crypto Stash later in celebration. What's happening with that before we get started here and dive deep down a rabbit hole? Pun intended.
Yeah, well, we met with him before, and he's very kind and very supportive. And
great mustache.
Yeah, very, very good-looking mustache.
Very good mustache.
And, true to his name. So, no, we just like to talk about this stuff because, quite honestly, I think what's worked in our favor is that we're an open book.
Yeah.
It's almost to a fault. What you see is what you get. We've been doxxed from day one. There's no manipulation behind what we're doing. Everything is just completely open. We're 100% transparent, sometimes to a fault, but we like it that way. And I think the authenticity is what our community is attracted to. And then also we're just having fun. We're just having so much fun. We're doing whatever is silly and whatever makes us laugh. So that's kind of our secret formula.
Yeah. Yep. And we're going to be jumping on later with Crypto Stash, and we're excited to, I mean, the more people we can get in playing the game and giving us feedback and giving us that what their thoughts are on it. That's what we're here to do. It helps refine the product that we build. And so today at 4:00 Pacific time, if anybody's out there and wants to jump in and play, we should have a pretty fun crew getting in there at that time.
That's right.
Yeah, Rogue001 is saying in the chat, you guys are building a game that doesn't look like it was made in 97, LFG. So that's another thing you guys are doing super positively. Listen, I want to go through a lot of things, so I do want to get the interview started. Guys, if you're not familiar with the Nifty Q Show, again, we have these long-form discussions. If you're listening on audio afterwards, if you're on Twitter or YouTube right now, appreciate you guys hopping in today to learn about the future of GameFi, which this game is sitting right at the forefront of leading that movement, which I'm excited about. But guys, before you got into Web3, before you got into crypto, this wonderful world of blockchain, what were you guys doing?
Oh man,
I mean, I go way back to Pixar days. I was one of the first animators at Pixar on Toy Story, and so I was always trying to do whatever was on the bleeding edge of visual effects. Most of my career, I've almost been 30 years or more in visual effects. So I worked for Pixar. I did animation. I directed animation. I did character design and story at Pixar. And then at ILM, I worked for George Lucas. And that's when I fell in love with motion capture and visual effects and live action. And then through the years, I've just helped build new studios and traveled around the world a bunch. And so now, in many ways, this is just an extension of what I've always done, which is trying to take whatever the cutting edge technology is, mixed with the best Disney artists we can find, and putting those things together in a way that no one has ever done before. And that's exactly what we're doing in the Web3 space with My Pet Hooligan.
Yeah. And, kind of the another snapshot of that too is, my background was live action film production, got into animation, partnered up with Colin here, and then, been off to the races. Having this studio be, bringing animators, bringing game developers together and putting them on the Unreal Engine has given us that ability to be, to continue to pursue being the fastest animation studio. We do work really closely with Epic, and out of that, early days, this company's 3 years old. And so early days, with Epic, we were always heard these rumblings of metaverses and this and that, and kind of like, what is this, kind of this Web3 space as it was starting to evolve. And, coming from our background, we wanted to jump in and figure out how can we bring a new look and a new into this space. Before we got fully into Web3 with My Pet Hooligans and the Rabbit Hole, we were doing work with Coldplay. We were doing work with a mobile app called Emmy that we created. And then also just being an IP factory, creating a handful of different, brand IP that we went and pitched around to studios. One of which we partnered with Netflix and early stage in development with them on that. So
Yeah.
Kind of got a cool little history within only 3 years of this company. So can only imagine what's going to happen in like 10 years.
Yeah. No, we have a very wide range of things we're doing, but they do all fall under the umbrella of we're creating a global brand.
Yeah.
And hopefully several global brands. And so, whether it starts as a feature film and ends up as a video game or a TV show, or starts as a app and ends up as a feature film, it's all the same to me. One of the greatest joys I had when I was working at Pixar is after the Toy Story movie was done and I was involved with the marketing, and we'd be doing all the different characters posed out, and just walking through a grocery store and seeing our characters that I posed on a bag of Fritos. And I always thought, I knew we made it. Once you're on a stupid bag of Fritos, something like that it's now out to the world. Even the toys, there was something so rewarding about actually seeing these things become toys, and then people can touch these things and play with these things. I was involved with a lot of the video games that we're doing at Pixar, and there was something even traveling to China and to see a Buzz Lightyear on a graffiti wall in an art school in the south of China really blew me away and really reminded me that the importance of creating a global brand means that now the character belongs to the public, and now it evolves with the public, and it kind of takes on a life of its own. So to me, there's just something that very natural about bringing this to the Web3 space, and then making sure we can also onboard a lot of the Web2 people into the Web3 space as well.
Yeah, I want to get into that Web 2, Web 3 adoption and how we kind of bridge that, because you guys have that experience. The IP lends itself well to, I think, being that global brand. Right? Like, there's something about cartoon characters. I think I was listening to an AMA you guys had, and one of your team members described the rabbit, or maybe the main rabbit, Hooli, as a sweet, cheeky little rabbit. So I want to get into the IP there and where that actually comes from. Although I guess your Pixar experience lends itself there. So you guys mentioned the company being 3 years old. I'm assuming that is AMGI Studios. Is that what you're referencing?
That's correct.
So at what point did My Pet Hooligan either launch or kind of transition to this Web3 portion? Like, when did you guys kind of step in there?
Yeah. So if I can take first crack here. Yeah. So what we did, kind of going back to the conception of this company and making sure that we were, always being an IP factory, always creating new technology. As we had our deal with Netflix, and then we had this, app Emmy that we were creating and starting to roll out to the public. We were watching what was happening in the Web3 space, and we wanted to, jump in at some point. We saw at that point, a lot of the a lot of the collections were just, 2D PFP collections. And, there's some 3D collections out there, but we said, how can we bring a really iconic looking character design, 3D character design, but also tie in some really fun story behind it, some really cool lore to it. And out of that thinking, My Pet Hooligan was born. We wanted to bring a cool story behind it that, that we can get the community involved in, kind of find this new way to storytell. And then, out of that, of course, we had the game that we wanted to build out and all of it that played into the story. So that's that was I guess the pivot for us, was just being on that sidelines and working with Epic and kind of seeing like, okay, when can we dive in here? And then just saying, let's do it. Let's take that jump. And
it's been, I think, just about a year ago.
Yeah,
actually,
last December,
when we first just thought of what this thing could be and what this thing could look like. And, up till then, we kind of were kind of practicing getting very fast at character creation. So we've always said, and it's true, we can go from a napkin sketch to a live animated character in 2 weeks. We really wanted to. Like, that's crazy fast. Yeah. Like any other studio, it takes about 6 months to create a character. There's meetings and committees and so on. Well, kind of coming right out of COVID, we immediately jumped back in the office as much as possible, working with each other, sitting down next to the artists, and then sculpting a character in real time based on, hey, what is the community like? What's kind of a caricature of the community? And the community seemed to be this freedom-loving group of rebels, kind of tongue-in-cheek, very humorous, and also, with my time in China, just realizing how like Zootopia was so huge. Once you do something that's an animal, it immediately becomes universal. You're not thinking about what ethnicity,
how you look. Yes.
Right. And then also everyone was really in the computer gaming world, they seem to avoid facial animation, and specifically eye animation, because it's so hard. The eyes always look creepy, and the more human you get, the creepier it is. So most people try to hide the eyes in characters that are zombies, robots, soldiers with helmets. We're the opposite. We said, what is it that people are most afraid of doing? Let's double down on
lean
that.
Into that.
Let's make the eyes as big as possible. Let's make the hands as big as possible. Let's make the characters super expressive. And so we knew we had to do something a little bit naughty, because that's kind of what the community is. But yet it softens it. I've always liked the contrast of like mixing the naughtiness with something that's kind of cute. And movies like Ted, leaned into that. I guess.
I remember being like 12 years old playing Conker's Bad Fur Day, and it was like the juxtaposition of the two is like, holy shit, like this is awesome. Yeah. It's a cute thing that's cursing, basically.
And that kind of served as the team is a big fan of Conkers, and so that they've used that as a reference several times, and so I think you're going to see a lot of Conkers kind of showing up in this game.
Yeah.
Got it. So you guys are in this timeline, I think, in this adolescent stage, not yourselves, but I think in the timeline of GameFi and this Web3 gaming. We saw that first generation, that wave that you guys probably saw with Axie Infinity and all these kind of games launching, and then essentially kind of falling flat because they really pushed, in my opinion, this play to earn mechanic that like fueled hype, but then didn't lead to any sustainability. So how do you guys see the GameFi space as it exists today? You're joining this, you're jumping into Web3, which I think is already kind of, you mentioned risk taking, like that's already a risk. We already see gamers that push back against NFTs, against Web3, but just kind of where you see the GameFi space today and your place in it is I think hopefully one that you guys can hit.
Yeah, sure. I mean, well, one thing coming out of, we went on a couple of these expos, and one particular was in New York, NFT NYC, and so many people were playing our alpha version of our game, and they're saying, this is as good as any Web 2 game. And something really kind of clicked where we said, let's get this out to as many people as possible. Yeah. So right now there are only, 4,800 holders of our hooligans. And so we're looking at this, and we know we have to be very loyal to our OG holders. We want to do right by them and make sure that they have a lot of value that's increasing with their NFT for sure. But we also said there's got to be a way to onboard as many people as possible. So I kind of jokingly, I think, said to the team, how do we get 1 million people playing this game? Well, we're already on Epic Online Services. We have a great relationship with Epic. And so we said, we got to get this on the Epic Marketplace. We have to have a free-to-play model. And then some of our other partners were saying, and you got to get this on the Android. You got to get this on a mobile device. And so we said, we got to get a version of this that works on mobile. And so we said, let's make this the best Web 2 game and app out there, but then also have the benefits of Web3 for anyone who wants it, or people that will get benefits of Web3 and not even know that they're in a Web3 ecosystem, not even know they're playing as an NFT. So we said, what are the thresholds for playing this thing? Well, usually the NFTs are very expensive, the wallets are very complicated, and there's also a lot of inflation that happens if there's places to earn carrots but not spend carrots. You have a lot of inflation. So we said, let's make this a fun game first and get as many people as possible. We also have the ability to make so many different combinations for these things and so many original, unique one-of-ones. So I think that's what we're leaning into really hard. It's just lean into the Web 2 space, and Web 3 is going to come just kind of as an artifact. Someone may all of a sudden play the game long enough, earn their way into entering the rabbit hole. They may qualify. They may have to press a verify button of some kind, and they will be minting an NFT and not even knowing it.
Yeah, and I mean, let's face it. There's a lot that we could and that we are learning from, phase one or the first kind of wave that came through in the Web3 gaming right now. And like, I think right now, we've been fortunate enough to partner with Delphi and YGG and Bitcraft, and a lot of these folks who've been involved in building some of these big games that have had really big rises and some little missteps here and there. But it's all about just like in a new space, you want to be painfully aware of what's going on and learn from projects that come before you. We're going to keep we will make mistakes. We will make we'll have strides, we'll have our wins, but we want to just be able to learn from things that have been already done and really try to like weave that in, because Web3, there's amazing things that come along with blockchain tech and the Web3 space, but at the core of it, at the simplest version, you got to make a fun game. You got to make it sticky. You got to make it great. That is a simple thing to say, a hard thing to do. And we're fortunate enough to have a really talented team that's they're excited to continue to create. That shows in the product that's being put out there.
I agree wholeheartedly. I jumped into the game. I was able to buy one of your guys' NFTs. I accidentally bought 3 because I was sending one to my buddy, but then OpenSea. So I'm a big holder now. But yeah, I got you guys. But anyways, it comes out when you join. If you haven't played My Pet Hooligan, like once you actually join the world, it's a fully immersive environment where and it looks like there is a lot of lore that you guys can build off of. You've done videos that show, the My Pet Hooligan or Hooli in the world. So it was super immersive, not something you get all the time in a lot of these Web3 games. But you mentioned kind of working with Delphi, working with a couple other, hard hitters in the Web3 space. So from games or from other projects that you have seen in the space being here for the last year, what are some that you thought, potentially did some things well, like you guys are kind of doing? Are there any that stick out in your mind where you're saying, well, we like what they're doing, just kind of making that A tier, S tier list, if you will?
I mean, sure. I mean, I like what Blankos is doing they're on the Unreal Marketplace. They're in a cartoony space. They have big faces. They're kind of leaning into the fun, and they're embracing Epic, and so we believe Epic has a very bright future. I mean, they're doing fine as they are right now, but I think they're going to continue to grow, and they're going to, I think, grow and evolve in even much bigger ways. So that one, I guess I kind of had my eye on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I mean, there's a couple right now that actually I don't know if I can say the name that we've been talking about quite a bit. So I may keep to myself on that one. But I mean, even like like with Axie, like I was still, and I'm still a fan of like what they were able to achieve and what they're able to do in the space. And I think that there's potentially still a future for them and everything. And I don't follow them as closely as we once did and kind of seeing what was happening there, but I think again, going back to that first wave happening, that we're about to see a lot of really strong players entering into this space, and we're fortunate enough to kind of be right at that. Like, we weren't too early, we're still early, but weren't too early, so we can kind of ride that second wave and learn a lot here. So
yeah, and the idea too of I think what was kind of admirable is that there are a lot of, players in the rest of the world, India and Indonesia, Philippines, and so on, and didn't really catch up to the U.S. market. Here, we're more focused on putting headsets on and very expensive VR kind of experiences. And so think what's interesting is that now we're at the second wave, as you were saying, where I think there's a fun way to have this more adopted in the Western markets, especially in the U.S. I think there's a free-to-play model. I think the idea of just focusing on just earning has gotten maybe kind of sterile.
Yeah.
And so we really want to just lean into the fun and kind of the social experience. What we're doing, I think that no one's doing, even in the Unreal space, is really focusing on live facial animation, treating characters truly as their own celebrity NFTs, so that people are making their own user-generated content and kind of become their own celebrities, like watching American Ninja Warrior or something, falling in love with the individual personalities. I think that's where we really have an edge over anyone else in the space, is that our characters are picking up all the nuances, every little eye dart, every little blink. These are non-verbal ways to communicate that go beyond the language. They're universal ways to communicate. That's why, Mickey Mouse was so popular. Day one of art school, I went to Disney School of Animation called CalArts, California Institute of the Arts. Day one, they told us the reason Mickey Mouse is so popular is that it has a global appeal because it works on a non-audio level. You can take the audio completely down, and then Mickey Mouse is now one of the world's most recognized symbols. In the same way, we really want to focus and lean into character animation, all of those Disney tricks. And so mixing that with this kind of social experience, even the definition of a game, does that mean you're running around and shooting stuff? Maybe not. Hanging out in the Roblox kind of world is certainly what my kids prefer to do. And so there's kind of an evolution happening as well, where it's not just, I need to run and catch stuff and shoot stuff and blow stuff up. Like, just hanging out is something that I think can be, you can earn over time just by hanging out in certain areas. And so I think there's a whole evolution into a social space. There's a vacuum that I think in the Web3 world, or Web 2.5 is maybe a better way of calling it. I think there's a vacuum there that is not being filled by Netflix. It's not being currently filled by Disney or Facebook. Yeah. And so I think this is the space we're moving into.
And also too, something that I just did a little look up there. Yeah, there's a couple names I almost said that I shouldn't. So that was good that I didn't.
Good job.
Yeah. Normally that's for you.
Yeah, I always spill it.
Yeah.
Alpha.
But I mean, we're definitely inspired and watching, other projects like Luvium or Sandbox, these other kind of, metaverse plays or land plays where, we have a bigger vision that we're building towards. And, we are really big believers of, proof of concept, build it first, instead of going out and talking about it and saying, hey, we have this perfect white paper. We're going to then, raise the money and then put the team together and then build it. We kind of just said, let's do it. Yeah, let's just do it. Let's just start building it. We're fortunate enough to have that team in place. So we can do that, and our team works well together. But, we look at, like Sandbox, for example, or Luvium, and say, okay, how can we, learn from some of these projects and build in a way that it's not so much of a competitor mindset. It's more of like hey, we want to enter into the space, bring our own touch, our own flavor to it, so we can collaborate together. And so we can really work towards that, like, true interoperable kind of, world one day, which there's a lot of steps to get there. But, it definitely is a part of our bigger picture here, which is what we call the inner loop. And we can go deep down that rabbit hole here soon if you'd like to. But I also, like I said, we could just talk for hours, man. So.
No, I listen, I love having those conversations. I love jumping down the proverbial rabbit hole. The last question I have before I get to like project details, because you guys have a bunch of things going on. In your last AMA, I think it was Colin that was talking about Fortnite and the software that's being built, or that Fortnite is built on, you use for My Pet Hooligan as well. And that leads itself to, I think you said games as a service, which is the first time I've ever heard that term. Could you kind of break that down? I thought that was a really dope way that you could talk about games kind of evolving over time. Go ahead.
I mean, I probably was just free flowing and honestly, like, the best ideas come out in conversation. But no, that is where this is going. So, as you know or may not know, Fortnite is built on Unreal 5, but Unreal 5 has a new architecture called Lyra that really is the future of game development. It makes these games very flexible, very easy to add new weapons, add new levels, add new mini games. Also, it makes it very easy for this to be portable to PlayStation, to an app, and so on. So right now, kind of under the hood, we're majorly revamping the engine underneath the Rabbit Hole game. And so for anyone that's expecting the Rabbit Hole 2.0, that is going to be released on the Epic Marketplace, to look exactly like the current Rabbit Hole, it's going to be a majorly new experience, new effects, new weapons, new activities. And up to now, it's just been kind of like in the alpha, people run around and shoot stuff. There haven't really been any official game loops, but we have a team deathmatch, we have a battle royale that we're creating, as well as these mini games, including a battle bot style game that's also going to be available on the app. So where this is evolving is that all of these different games all fall under the umbrella of what we call interloop. Interloop is our word for the metaverse, and even though metaverse is so overly used, we think that the metaverse is just it's an interoperable character that you could bring from these different ecosystems. I think it's going to show up in email. I mean, I think it's going to. These are characters that are kind of like a little living personal version that of yourself that can represent you, whether it's on our app called IMI, which is a real-time animation app. It's the best quality app out there, only available for the iPhone right now. But it's a fully animatable character that you can operate just with your face alone. And it very easily, right now, brings the character into AR. And so where we're developing all of these things is that you'll be able to battle each other's robots, each other's Zuckbots, as we call them, not only through your app, but in AR in your living room. So I think this is where we're probably more aligned with what Apple's talking about recently than, let's say, a Zuckerberg kind of metaverse, where these characters will be part of your living room environment. And especially when the goggles come along, we're going to be very well suited for that. If you've ever been to a Comic-Con in San Diego, it's the most wonderful freak show you'll ever see. That's the kind of experience that we're trying to create very slowly over time, because these characters are not just running around shooting. They all have personalities. They all have the individual characteristics, and these characteristics will evolve over time. There will be animation packs that will be released over time and earned. So the customizable Fortnite skins, we talked about the differences between this and Fortnite is that you'll be able to customize your skins, share your skins, sell your skins, and even sell moves and publish moves. So there's a lot of wonderful things in Fortnite, but what it doesn't have fully animated faces and skins that you can sell. And so these are I think big improvements that are really making what we've been saying for now probably 9 months is truly a downtown Disney experience. That there will be shops. There's tons of real estate in the Rabbit Hole. You can see there's probably 1,000 buildings that are just empty. So you can imagine you need to fill those things up.
What to put in there.
Go ahead.
Sorry. The games as service, one of the big things that we do here is as we create our technology or as we're designing stuff, we do adopt a lot of that Epic model of, build it and give it away. And it's kind of like, okay, how can we, again, going to proof of concept, how can we build these things, bring people in, and utilize, use our tech so that other people can then start to use it. Other people can find new use cases for it. And, that's really what a lot of the interloop and the Rabbit Hole, that's really at its foundation. So, we have a lot of fun exploring with that. And that's where I say it all the time. We say it all the time, give us feedback, tell us how you're using it, because that helps us make the product stronger, and it helps us make it design it so that it's a more, a desirable piece of tech that's, within our greater ecosystem.
Absolutely.
Yeah, your ethos for leaning on the community and talking to the community and creating this lore, it comes out in the product, as I've said already. I do have one question that it's related to that I think you said Disney World, but I also think it just leans itself to what we're trying to do here in the Web3 space, which is have digital identities that we can have one of. The one pushback that I've heard just in that kind of metaverse North Star, which is we're going to roll into, Ready Player One, and we're all going to be individuals in these games. The one pushback that I've heard is that creating those one-of-one characters across millions of different people, or even thousands of different people, is hard for game developers. Instead of having like one character or 10 different characters, that it's hard to create 20,000 different one-of-one characters inside of a video game. Is that something that hurts that goal, or is that something you're saying like you'll be able to create tomorrow, basically?
I think more too much of how the setup is. You want to go into
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I mean, right now it's almost a problem. We can create too many. I mean, we can create millions right now of unique one-of-one characters. The way we've organized all our different assets, and in fact, it also helps that our assets are 3D. Just doing the math, every time you add a new trait and 10 more options, you're multiplying the combinations by another 10. There's no reason that you can't get into the billions of different character versions. I also think, like, maybe unlike a Ready Player One, I don't think it's like we want to be stuck in the metaverse. I think it's only good if it benefits you in the real world. I think it's like getting a Gmail account. Like, you might pick a stupid name. It doesn't mean that you are that name forever. It's just kind of fun to even have it as your second persona. I remember one day having a personal conversation with Steve Jobs, just to name drop, and I said,
wow.
Because I used to work with him.
The name drop.
Yeah, why not, right? And so we were driving, and I thought, I can ask this guy anything I want, and I want to get really deep. I'm not the kind of person to
You ask him, do you like bananas?
No. I'm not the kind of, no, I don't talk about the weather. I want to just go into really weird, awkward conversations, because that's more fun. And so I asked him, what's it like, when he sees his face on magazines and he's famous? He said, oh, that's easy. That's not him. That's his twin brother. And I thought, that's fascinating. He separated himself from his public persona.
It's like a character. It's a caricature.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's just a caricature.
Yeah. And
so I thought, that's a really healthy way of looking at it. And I think, actually, I mean, not to get overly optimistic, but I'm pretty much an optimist, is that I think there's something more healthy about disassociating yourself with the character that we're portraying. I think too many problems, I think, in cancel culture and all that stuff, but even just identity and comparing yourself. How do you look? Oh, I need to alter. I need to put on a special filter because I need to look like that person, or I need to look, healthier or more in shape or wealthier. All this fake stuff, it's almost just better to say, you know what? I'm not going to even try to sell myself. I'm not a fan of metahumans, even though I love Epic. I'm not a fan of recreating myself in the computer as myself, as close as possible as me, to be me in the metaverse. I think people are more free to be themselves when they can dress up as something else. Halloween.
Be a character.
Be a character at Halloween.
Yeah, take yourself out of yourself.
We might have someone who's the most introverted person on the floor working, and then all of a sudden they bring up Immy, our app. They become another character, and all of a sudden you see a different person come out that you never saw before, a different accent, a freedom to say what's really on their mind. And the question is, is that a different person? I don't know. I think I might argue that they're actually being more themselves at that moment. So I think that this is a world that just kind of sits there. It's like having a little fireplace kind of just burning away. It cooks your food. It can do your things for you, but you're not living in the fireplace. It's a thing that helps keep your house warm. Hopefully you'll earn stuff in the real world. Starbucks, coffee, or your concert tickets, discount on Nikes or whatever. I think this is just kind of a little tool that keeps a fun little character alive, a little robot companion, a little goofy persona that I think is just kind of represents you in a fun way, and I think in a much healthier way.
And to take it back to your question too, is is it really difficult to create all those characters, so unique characters for millions and millions of players to have that? I think the simplest answer is the traditional way of setting up games and building characters. Absolutely. To create, all the time it takes to create a character, to set it up in a way that you're just doing one, that's not scalable. You can't do that. But games before, they didn't have that kind of mindset of okay, how do we get millions of unique characters? So we've approached it with that line of thinking of, okay, how do we make this an efficient way so that it is scalable and scalable to the hundreds of millions, to the billions, and that, you know, it can allow us to, you know, if we had 200 million people in the inner loop or in a game, we could supply those players with unique characters.
In fact, as like a simple little test, we haven't released it publicly, but we have a working prototype that works on an Android of our BattleBot game, our Zuckbot game, which is a big release we're doing very soon.
Very soon. This month. We don't know when.
We couldn't be more excited by, you know, and thousands without saying the exact number. But, you know, these are like Star Wars droids mixed with minions. So very humorous,
very cool,
goofy, tongue-in-cheek droids that have a lot of personality.
Totally tied into the lore and everything.
Yeah, and they're so much fun. It's as if, you know, I mean, they're called Zuckbots, and these things have been our mortal enemy. Well, now, you know, Hooli, our mascot, is in the process of
breaking them out.
He's breaking these out, and everybody will have one. But you could start playing these things, and really, the first question was, can we get all these variations to work on a middle of the road Android? And so we have to put all the textures and all the props and all the, you know, weapons and costumes. And the first question was, does this even work? Well, thankfully it does. We've made them really high quality, super high quality. We've had to take that down a little bit, but they're still the highest quality 3D character assets out there that I know of. Yeah. And they do. So the good news is it all does fit. It's all possible. There's many combinations that we want on a phone.
So shout out to Skyhopper, who set most of this up. This entire show pretty much was scheduled by him. So big shout out to him. He also gave me a Zuckbot reveal video that's 22 seconds long. Do you guys want to play that? You want to play that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see what.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's see what the hell happens.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
That was a little teaser. Yeah, so we have the official trailer coming soon, but really this is starting to unfold as kind of an episodic reveal of these Zuckbots. Yeah. So right now, as we speak, these hooligans might be up to no good.
Yeah, they're trying to break something out of a factory. If it's a Zuckbot factory, there's some shenanigans going on.
We are firmly kind of in the middle of the episode here to you know, probably a little bit over. So I do want to kind of give a good shout out to the chat. I want to kind of like hit the medium part of the episode where we give a shout out. So Asmodai, Hash Rhymes. I mean, there's too many people. Crypto Jammin', Ambien. I'll get to some of y'all's questions here in the chat as we go forward. But, you know, having been right here in this episode, I think we are at the part where maybe we need to break down what the environment looks like, what the assets look like up to this point, just to give people an understanding. I feel like we've hit Interloop. We've touched on the fact that there are NFTs, but maybe someone that doesn't know about what actually the details are there. What has been released up to this point? What does that give you access to? Kind of give me a little bit of a layout of the ecosystem as it exists today, and then we can touch on that Zuckbot release.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, do you want me to
go?
You did. All right. So, up to today, we've released our Genesis Hooligan collection with his 8,888 hooligans that was released back in December of last year. That right now, just focusing on the Genesis collection, that gives you access to IMI, where you can download your characters and you download your own hooligans and then actually create an AR and create content right from your phone with your hooligans. Then we also, that gives you access to the Rabbit Hole, which is the game that we've developed, that you can go in, you can, you know, connect your MetaMask, jump in, play as your hooligan. But then also, let's see what else. Well, we have Zuckbots coming out that aren't out yet, but they are coming. So if you have a Genesis hooligan right now, you'll have access to part of the Zuckbot release that's coming out soon. Let's see. I know there's a whole token discussion that we can touch on. There's going to be some benefits there that'll be tied in that we're designing that with Delphi. So there's, you know, a lot happen on that front. Let's see, what other tools am I missing out? Some other stuff.
I mean, those are the big ones. I mean, I think getting access to one of these Zuckbots, it's a help me with the term here. You have to pay for the minting, but it's free.
Claim. Yeah.
It's a claim for all Genesis holders.
Gotcha.
And so these things, we're putting so much work into these things. So the details, the quality of these is really, really high. So, we have every single one is a winner. We go through the list. We actually have a randomizer. I almost brought it on here, just as we're doing our own quality control internally on the floor. We're just kind of playing these things through. These things are just fun to watch, just cycle through. We're able to just cycle through these things all day long. It almost is, be great to play at a bar, just in the background as watching these different Zuckbots, because they're all interesting. We stop on any one of them. We say, okay, randomly stop on any one. Would you be happy if you got that one? And then we, like 99 out of 100, we were saying yes. And then there was like the 1 out of 100, we're like, not that one. How do we, let's fix that. And then the crew fixes it. So that's, so in addition to that, I think we've announced that there are 2 other, well, as our trailer just showed, there's 3 of the 7 that will be released somehow. We've yet to
release all the mechanics of how we're releasing those.
Yeah, the mechanics are yet to be revealed, but it's a real fun way that I guess all we want to say is that people, I think, will be pleasantly surprised. I think this is a unique drop, and I think every single one of these is a winner.
And also too, right now, the Genesis Hooligans has been that's the only release we've done. We've released the game. We've done, it's in the early, alpha testing of that. But we've opened that up to other communities as well. They can join through our hall passes. So they can join as a generic hooligan. Right. And of course, this is to get more data to test with, to get more feedback, to get more exposure through other communities. So right now, if you were to join the game as your hooligan, you're playing as your unique, your hooligan. But then if you have joined through our hall pass, let's say you come in, through one of the communities that you're a part of, you can join as a generic hooligan, but it'll be branded like in that community sweatshirt, have their logo on it.
I think it's also worth noting too that we have a very vibrant Discord community, that all of our hooligans have been submitting graffiti. We said early on, hey guys, we got all these blank walls. We need someone to help decorate the place, and can you submit some graffiti? We must have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pieces of graffiti. I think we've used every single one of them. And we've just it's just been kind of just free. And one, it actually helps us because it makes the thing look more interesting. If all of these pieces of graffiti were designed by one artist or even a handful of artists, they would all look too similar. Here you're getting different styles and different qualities. It feels like real graffiti. So that's everybody who's part of our community is literally a permanent fixture now in the rabbit hole, and then hooligans will have special access to shelf space. One of the hooligans asked if their graffiti can be put as a logo on their hooligan. Can they actually wear a T-shirt or so on? I mean, so for about 5 minutes, I think we had kind of a philosophical debate. Well, wait a second, does that change the NFT? We said, well, you know what? We need to do that. A person needs to dress up their NFT. Like their naked NFT will always be the one that they've purchased, but to be able to customize the NFT with your own logo, and then taking it one step further, what if someone else wants to wear your logo? Now you're in a position to sell your wearables, and for the token that's in the game, which will be KARROTs, and so people are buying and selling with KARROTs, and they can be used for things like wearables. But to know that the person who actually generates their own wearables can participate in this ecosystem.
Yeah, I should have stopped you guys earlier because now we're like 4 layers deep on what you guys are offering.
It happens every time.
Just from a personal perspective, again, and Prodigy's here in the chat. He joined me on that game stream. We do these game streams on the network as well. So if you guys want to sub, please do. We've done My Pet Hooligan, but the idea of having, and I don't want to get into the land discussion, but the idea of having an apartment in that world would be really dope. Just from a personal perspective. I don't know if that's on your roadmap, but
it absolutely is. And, that's a part of it. Right now, the simplest way to think about it is that our Genesis hooligans, if you're an owner and you're part of our community, own a hooligan, you get access to, the whole AMGI ecosystem. You get access to everything that we're building right now. It's My Pet Hooligan ecosystem, but you get the tech that we've been building, rolling out on IMI, everything that we're rolling into Rabbit Hole, all this stuff that we're, talking about going deep on. It's really just, you get that first wave access to all the cool stuff. And we didn't want to just jump into doing mint after mint after mint. We wanted to make sure that we were, thoughtful with how we went about this. Yes, we have, the others, on our roadmap. We have some other pretty cool things coming up, real soon. But Zuckbots came up in like last minute kind of a thing. Not last minute. They popped up onto the roadmap because it was, as we thought this through, we're like, you know what, like this makes sense in the lore because these characters are becoming more prevalent and they're becoming more and more and more of the piece of the game. There should be another, mint here. And, we've been in this for 10 months or so, and we haven't done another minting since our Genesis one. So we just want to take our time and make sure we do it correctly.
That's right.
Gotcha. And I want to reference back to the time that I was jumping in the game. It seemed like a third-person shooter that was very just open world based, right? At this point, what is the next evolution? You talked about battle royales. You talked about potentially PvP, which I love. I mean, it already is PvP, but maybe in a more structured, stasis. So, but like, what are the feature releases as far as the game is concerned?
So right now, when you jump in there, one of our like North Star guiding lights is like getting like a GTA style game mixed with like Zootopia.
Yeah.
So, you have that like free missions, free world, experience where you can jump in and explore. You can kind of go do what you want. But if you want to join missions, that's there too. First up on the docket that we're going to be able to roll out right now with the switching over to Lyra is going to be our team deathmatch mode. We have that pretty much prepped and ready to go. It looks incredible what they have going on down there. I know after that, getting battle royale is a big one. Capture the bag's a big one, and then of course there's there's an overarching resource management style game that is split up between the 7 factions of the hooligans that take place within the game, where you have these wars taking place, kind of bartering with each other, stuff like that. Just kind of creates some really cool in-game dynamics there. So again, going back to creating a fun game first and a sticky game, we wanted to make sure that it was multi-layered with major game modes to promote esports, all that stuff, but then also making sure that we have like mini games like the Zuckbot BattleBot game that's going to be on mobile. That's also going to have a utility inside the game. We have skateboarding in there. Maybe there's going to be a skate game. Like, there's all these really cool, fun things that you got to make a sticky game. So you got to have layers and layers and layers in there.
And then I think I also just want to add that we also have a couple of maybe non-game environments or buildings. We have an IMI dance club where you're just hanging out and just dancing. That's like probably
the bar.
We hopped in the bar. We did hop in the bar.
Yeah. Can have a bar.
Maybe some stand-up
comedy and karaoke night. I mean, I really
Can you throw tomatoes?
You can throw tomatoes. You can earn and buy tomatoes, and so you could just have great stand-up night, and people can vote and be rewarded. I mean, I would like nothing more than actually have this entertaining enough so someone just tunes in.
Yeah.
Just tunes into a live stream that may not even be a holder, may not even be in the rabbit hole.
Creating experiences with it.
Someone just watching this just for fun. It becomes like any of those whatever Hooli's Got Talent kind of show. And so we're shooting some stuff, just some stand-up tests just yesterday that we literally were just crying, laughing so much at some of these
Maybe
things.
A little R-rated, but
could be.
There's some good ones.
And we have a movie theater right now in the rabbit hole that's right now just playing some samples, but that same kind of thing where the experience of watching a movie together, and unlike a real movie theater where you're generally not too happy if someone's too loud, this is like you're watching it with friends. You actually want to hear the other comments. You want people to be able to throw tomatoes at the screen or shoot paintball at the screen. So this is kind of a communal experience that I think certainly we all took a hit during COVID and didn't experience. And so this is a way to really try to encourage true community.
Yeah, I want to touch on the chat really quick, guys. We're sitting here on the Nifty Q show. We're interviewing awesome Web3 gaming founders here and team members from My Pet Hooligan. If you like the episode, please leave a like. It does help the show get out there. Sub for the channel. We got a bunch of different things on the network that we do every week, including game streaming of My Pet Hooligan. But I do have a bunch of great comments coming through. I want to get back to Don R asking if you guys are directly on the ETH blockchain or a layer layer 2? How do you see mint fees affecting activity, and has the merge benefited you? So kind of just the blockchain question, I think, that you guys have probably gotten before, but let me know. I would love to hear about that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, Hooligans is an ETH-based project. We do have, we're still, again, taking our time and designing this all out, with our partners that we brought in. We have been looking at some layer 2 solutions, to see kind of like what's that balance of how much should be on chain, how much should be off chain. Again, going back to, the beginning of the discussion is we don't want to, just put everything on chain and put everything Web3 just for like the wow factor and saying we did. We want to make sure that there's a balance there so that we can bring, the masses in to enjoy all the benefits that Web3 and blockchain has to offer. So again, it's just trying to find that balance. And I know that's kind of like a nebulous answer, but that's really kind of where we're at right now. Is just trying to figure out, what's that right steps to take, and taking those steps slowly with the best minds that we have at our disposal to design that together.
Yeah, and it's certainly, the merge certainly hasn't hurt us. I think it's a really good thing long term.
Yeah.
I think think Ethereum seems to be very stable. As we say, we are looking at other kind of layer 2 solutions, but I think we're going to evolve to a couple places. One is that we want to create some kind of safety net so that people aren't being scammed left and right.
Yeah.
Keeping as much off chain as possible seems to make a lot of sense, especially for new users. There may be some thresholds of having certain amount of tokens in the game that's before you have to move it on chain. So we're trying to be really, really smart, very, very user friendly. We also think there's going to be a place where the general public won't care about what we're on, just like your cell phone service, I suppose. At a certain point, it starts to become like, as long as it works. But we've also seen a lot of rise and fall and some no-shows and some fizzles. So yeah, anyway, all of our steps are very, very careful. And in terms of like watching the market go up and down, and we're just focused on quality. We really do believe quality is the best ingredient. We're just looking at this North Star of saying, let's keep delivering quality to the community, especially in this current environment. We didn't want to release a token too soon. And so what we're also finding out too is that while a lot of the community early on is demanding utility, most of that just seems to mean, what are you going to do to pump this NFT, or what free stuff are we going to get? We're actually focusing on what we believe is real utility, long-term strategy to be permanent in the space, to not just talk up a game, or not just to do some artificial pump and dump of these things. So if you could see, we've actually had a very stable, kind of consistent floor price for the most part throughout all these ups and downs of the economy. So yes, people say, you guys are so undervalued, this is crazy. I mean, I would agree. I'm not going to whine about it. I guess I would say that many of the others are simply overvalued because I think there's a lot of hype that's not really based on reality.
It is interesting being in this environment, like we mentioned earlier in the episode, of being in like Web 2.5, or like kind of trying to be at the forefront of merging games with finance, because you do get questions like that. Most gaming companies don't need to answer the questions you guys are answering. What's my token utility? And even launching a token, which is kind of what I want to get into, which is your KARROT token. It's like, how do you implement that? How do you implement that so it's not a pump and dump? We saw that with SLP and Axie Infinity. Like, there's all these other fucking questions that come into play that normal game developers don't have to deal with at the end of the day, to be super frank. So give me a little bit of knowledge here on the KARROT token. I know I agree. I think it was you had said earlier that you guys were taking it step by step, right? Like not doing anything too quick. That's the right way to do it. But as far as what you can tell me now about the token, kind of lay it out for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're still, designing the KARROT token, and that's going to be, our utility token for the rabbit hole ecosystem for that game specifically. And, again, working with Delphi and with YGG and, bright minds who have come to the table with this is trying to design it in a way that in game there's plenty of sinks for it. There's plenty of areas for the tokens to be spent. trying to make sure that, you know, we're not creating something that, you know, if you have the ability to, you know, to play and earn it, we don't want there to be an incentive to game the system. And inevitably people are always going to try to game the system. So it's just trying to find ways to counterbalance that or to counteract that, and find ways that to you know, to yes, benefit the players, also have those tokens come back into the system. So, you know, it's like, these are complex, you know, economic discussions that happen far beyond my like economics 101 that I barely got through in college. But you know, that's where it's relying on the power of the team, bringing good people together to design this. But yeah, KARROT Token will be when we release version 2 of the rabbit hole. Right now on our roadmap, it's planned that the KARROT Token will be released at that same time.
And I think it's fair to say too that one kind of tried and true model has been the microtransactions of fiat. And so I think, you know, when people are only simply just focusing on you know, these expensive tokens or just once again more of a pump and dump kind of scheme, it seems like consistently wearables, things that are earnable in the game, things that are kind of low hanging fruit that are just, you know, just like looking at Roblox. I watch my kids like, you know, beg me for $5 so they can buy $5 of Robux or gems or something so they can just decorate their room, or like Fortnite, just flex and just wear some costume. There's a very healthy ecosystem that's just based on that. So, you know, I can imagine that you know, working more on the micro level, working with the millions of players model and trying to get as many people as possible, as easily as possible, and some future drop where will be the very inexpensive NFT, like an NFT in every home, something that there's no barrier. Like right now, what percentage of the U.S. market, what percentage of the world owns an NFT? I'd be surprised if it's 3%. I'm sure there's numbers out there, but it's something like that. And so it feels like there needs to be a tipping point. I would say the Walmart version of this thing, and I think the NFT name is going to go away, but I think it's going to be just like, you know, which character are you? I'm this. How many do you have? Hey, I want to buy 5 more. Hey, I want to buy 10 more. You know, I'll trade you 2 of these for 1 of those. I think we're gonna get into that model where it's just gonna be just part of our culture. Yeah. It's like no,
think about it.
Yeah, no one uses the word MP3 really unless you're like a nerd and you're trying to figure out what codec you should use. You're just like, hey, did you send me a movie clip? No one really cares.
But we did when it first came out. Is again, yeah.
We're all talking about an MP3 player.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No one talks about an MP3 player anymore. So I think the actual the name for the thing is going to go away. The technology is absolutely real. When people are like, oh, it was just a fad. It's like, well, I don't know. Are padlocks a fad? Are keys and locks a fad? You know, I mean, it's a real technology that's proof that something really happened. I just think we're scratching the surface of how it's going to be used, but I think it's going to be embedded in pretty much all transactions that we're going to do in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, Playboy Stacks is here in the chat saying, God, I am so bullish about the future of this project. We got some KARROT Gang comments here in the chat. So everybody's getting involved here, but we do have to wind down the episode here. We're sitting at about an hour. If you guys have any more information that maybe we didn't touch on that you want to kind of get to the community, get out into the world, drop it now.
We spilled enough. I mean, maybe you know, maybe you guys can look forward to what we did a shout out to our community to actually start to bring them into some of our actual advertisement and our gaming world. So I think, as usual, we want to do things that haven't been done before. And so literally bringing our community and their NFTs as personalities into our ecosystem is, I guess I'll leave it there. That's where it's going. I'm really excited about that future.
Yeah. And also, you know, as always, huge shout out to our community to the new you know, listeners and to people who are introduced to us here. And thank you for giving us the time to talk about our project. As you can see, we're super excited and bullish on what we're doing because, you know, we got a great team we get to work with, and we love what we're doing. I would say too, you know, I know we talked a lot about the Hooligan Genesis drop, and you know, that's how you get into everything we're doing. But with the Zuckbots coming out, that's going to be a new opportunity for people to join into, you know, our ecosystem and what we're doing. So, For those who maybe aren't holders right now, don't feel like you've missed the boat. There's plenty of things that are going to continue to roll out from our team. So Zuckbots are coming soon. Can't tell you exactly when. Very soon. I can say this month. So keep an active watch on how we're going to do that and what we're going to do. And there's a lot of fun utility and some, again, trying to find a new way to do something, in this space. Take what's great that's been done, innovate, make it our own, and get that out there. So, yeah, very, very happy to have been able to come on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, because I actually do think this is actually the most legit form of storytelling that has existed probably since the beginning of civilization. I think it's people getting together and sharing stories, around the proverbial fireplace. I think that's what we're doing right now. I think Hollywood's
giving feedback to each other.
It's all about a feedback loop, and that's why we call it the inner loop. It's all about the feedback loop. It's up to now, last 100 years has been Hollywood as a one-way street, giving content and telling stories that are just like, here's a story, sit on your couch by yourself and watch this story.
Be entertained.
This is, I think, far more interesting. So I'm as excited as I've ever been in my career. And I very much thank you for allowing us to come on and to rant for a little bit and to spout out all our craziness. So thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, games give you that example or that ability, I think, to immerse yourself in the story as well, right? You can hop in and be a part of that, which I think you guys are doing a fantastic job of. Everyone sitting at home, thank you so much for tuning in, whether it was Twitter, whether it's YouTube, whether you're listening afterwards on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much, Colin and Luke from My Pet Hooligan. I will be seeing you guys soon. I think I might jump into this, whatever tournament this is. When is this starting so that I can hop in today and beat some ass? What's going on? 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
PST?
Yeah, let's go.
Yep. PST.
All right. Dope. All right. I will be there. Thank you guys for tuning in today on the Nifty Q Show. We'll be here next week. We'll be here the week after that, just like these guys building the future of Web3 here. So thank you guys for tuning in. See you next time.
Thank you very much.
Calling all hooligans. I'm talking about cypher buns, the road jumpers, hair raisers, bunners, playboys, mutants, and the punk bunnies. Let's get it. Flash, Lego.
Mount up, think straight, get home, be safe. My team, we don't play.